may know that already, but I don't want to be mysterious about it. He's sitting right here. I'll bring him up in a few minutes. MediaPost has been covering the world of online video for many years through our publications. Originally, we started with a Video Insider, and we introduced Video Daily. So we publish Video Daily every day. I hope all of you get it. If you don't, you might enjoy it. Obviously, you just go to MediaPost.com to sign up. And just on a kind of promotional note for MediaPost, coming up we have a couple of shows that you might be interested in putting on your possible to-do list. We're doing a show we're calling the TV Insider Summit, which is actually primarily focused on the future of TV and the introduction of programmatic tools and techniques into the buying and selling of media, of TV media. So anyhow, that's taking place in about 2.5 weeks in a wonderful resort, Ritz-Carlton in Key West, where are we? Amelia Island, I'm sorry. We do 14 of these a year, so every once in a while I'm going, what one comes up next? So it's Amelia Island, Florida. It's a 3-4 day getaway in which we combine great content sessions with round tables and afternoon activities and evening cocktail parties and events. And everybody who goes to these shows loves them. And so you might think about putting that on your schedule. If you're interested in the wider world of video and TV and the possible merging of tools and techniques related to the two. This show, though, is going to be more focused on social video, which is obviously related but a somewhat different set of interests and opportunities. We're repeating this show during Advertising Week. So that's 3-4 months away at the end of September. And again, you might want to see what's new in social video at Advertising Week with us. I want to thank our sponsor, Twitter Video. They are kind of debuting a set of tools and techniques, and they'll be sponsoring the lunch more or less around 12:30, and you'll be hearing from them with a sponsored luncheon presentation. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Chuck Martin up here. Lately, he's been focused for us on the world of Internet of Things. He edits for us the IoT Daily, writing a blog called Connected Thinking. Over the years, he's written for us about m-commerce and the broader world of mobile marketing and advertising. He's a published author with books on mobile and a host of other things, and we're delighted that he's a contributor to MediaPost and that he will be guiding you through the day today. Chuck?
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Oh, come on, guys. Good morning. Oh, I know. Okay. No windows. I get it. Okay, what we're going to talk about today is basically video. Video, obviously, for everyone in this room, it's come a very long way over the last several years. It's gotten extremely social, which is not really where it was in the past. It's become ripe for storytelling, and we're going to explore a lot of that today. It's also gotten much more complex, which is why a lot of you are here. Today, we're going to get into these new complexities. We're going to be looking at engagement. What does that mean today? What does it mean for these new platforms? There are many, many new platforms now. Which one do you use? Which one is best for which thing? Brand culture. You're going to hear this afternoon from the co-founder of Be Good, which from the Boston area, and that's a very well-established restaurant in Boston. They just opened one in Brooklyn within the last couple of weeks, it's a very great story about brand culture. How do you develop this over time? They've got about 35, 45 restaurants, and they're expanding rapidly. And we're going to talk about influence, the new influencers. Who do you deal with? These people come out of nowhere. All of a sudden, they're famous people you've never heard of. And how do you tap into that as a brand or an agency? To kick this off, basically any industry can use social, even automotive. Which you might not think that's a natural thing. This is the case with American Honda Motor Company's Serial 1 project, which you're going to hear about. I'm here to tell us about how Honda tapped into social video to bring new life to the very first Honda automobile in the United States with a unique restoration story is Eric Kelsey, Senior Manager, Regional Experiential and Social Marketing for Honda. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Eric Kelsey.
It's actually Kelsey, but it starts with an E, so you were close. So Eric and Ernie. First of all, thank you very much for having me today. It's nice to be here. It's always fun to come to New York. We're here for a quick trip, but it's a nice turnout, so thanks for coming out today. I do have more of a script today. This is a big project for us, so we're trying to keep the messaging we have it on consistently, so I'll be referring to a script, which I brought with me on the plane. I had a nice binder, and I promptly left it in my seat pocket in front of me, so hopefully it's getting good engagement and being shared around the transcon flights from LA to JFK. I am Ernie Kelsey, so we can, I have the clicker here. That's my picture. I'm the senior manager. I've got a couple titles, but it's really regional, social, and experiential marketing. So social, we all know about. Experiential is where we try to get people to experience the product, not necessarily in a dealership, maybe at Little League Baseball or at an IndyCar race or anywhere we can get people to get into the product and experience it. And I also have a dotted line relationship to both of the regional marketing groups for Honda and Acura, so more of the buy it now messaging. So I took this new position on April 1st, so I'm kind of the new guy. So I do owe a lot to a lot of people already, I can tell. Alicia Jones is actually the manager of social marketing at American Honda for both Honda and Acura. She's the proud mother of a new baby as of 3 days ago. So I am in de facto until September managing that department too. And we have Chris Hand is not here today, but he's a big part of it. Melly Ramirez. I do have Sean Buda with me here today. He is the assistant manager in charge of Honda Social. So he's been very active on the Serial One project. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about RPA, our agency. They keep us kind of on trend and keeping us on what's going and happening now in this space. So we really appreciate that. Okay, so it's hard to believe that just over a year ago, video really has taken off. A year ago, we barely entered a world where each social platform had its own native video player. It really wasn't until February of 2015 that Facebook rolled out its native player and autoplay functionality. Twitter and Tumblr didn't launch their players until later. Having native players greatly improve video content experience for consumers and engagement rates for an advertiser, but it wasn't the only way video evolved. And while live streaming is gaining adoption, so are immersive video experiences like 360 and virtual reality, which we've already dipped our toes into. We did a Civic Launch 360, we had the Acura NSX 360, and right now if anybody wants to go onto our Facebook page, we have an IndyCar experience in 360, which actually has gotten so much, I was written up on doing that. I did it in my former position, and I've gotten so much interest from so many people about 360, so I think that's really something that's just going to continue to evolve. All of this is saying just 1 year time, the landscape's really changed dramatically. And so keeping up with what's happening and how things are moving is so important. And it will only add to the accelerating amount of content being produced and consumed as a result. So I like this. The trend will continue according to Cisco. Video content will be 80% of global internet traffic by 2019. Nearly 1 million minutes of video will be shared every second. And it would take an individual 5 million years to watch all the video content that will be shared each month. So you know what they say, that's a lot of video. So with video content shifting heavily in the last 12 months, and with no signs of stopping, in fact it seems to be gaining traction every day, Honda's taken advantage of the power of video as social media as a marketing tool. And even despite the fact that our options for video content are constantly changing and growing, we seem to have found a formula that works for us. We tell stories, we're really authentic to our brand, our content evokes emotion, and we find a news hook, or we try to find a news hook with everything that we do. And before we go into each one of those, it's important to note that we have success in social video campaigns. Marketers must recognize how branded video content fits into the plan. Honda's social video content is about creating opportunities for engagement and increased awareness of the brand message and not directly generating sales. Like, don't tell my boss I've said this, and hopefully he's not watching. We create content that appeals to people, and we want to go beyond just our owners and fans. We want to get out to more people, and that's what we're attempting to do. Keeping all that in mind, it's all about the power of storytelling. In 2015, so last year, we set out to really enhance our brand. We wanted to go from we make good, durable products to we make good, durable automobiles and innovative products. So it's the Honda, the power of dreams. We call it Red Honda. We kind of have a couple logos. Red Honda is like our global logo, and we have a theme behind that called the power of dreams. It led a lot of what we did last year. We had a newer president that really wanted to do something that really only Honda can do, and that's leverage our breadth of products, motorcycles, generators, jets, robots, into our automotive message, and really get that innovative message into how we do in our automotive brand. So we're going to watch our first video here, and it's called Paper. Maybe you've seen it, and I'll let you start it. So that's really a great example of everything I just said. Really, you'll see every product that we have is included in that. That was a 90-second version. The minute version was on TV a couple times, but it really is really great on our social channels. That was all shot practically. Those are all hand-drawn. It was shot on a big, huge board. Very little CG in it, and it just won 2 golden pencils at the One Show. But it's an excellent example of storytelling. We use that, especially on our social media channels. We launched the spot using the platform's native video player, and we used the director, Pez, to help get the word out about this and his own social channels. So we kind of had an influencer built into the whole product. The results was millions of views across our channels and increased conversation about the brand's innovation and that Power of Dreams message that we were trying to get out. In this case, using social videos succeeded in the campaign goal of video views and awareness, but as we discovered, this is just one of many roles that social media can play as part of a marketing plan. Let's take a look at our next video on the project that I'm here to talk about today. I'll let you go. Did I skip a page? I'm forgetting to click, I guess.
My name is Tim Mengs, and I restore Honda N600s and Z600s for a living. I'm the only full-time Honda 600 mechanic in the world. I've been a Honda guy my whole life. Yeah, I started helping my father fix them just after school myself and on the weekends. That's how I got my first car, was I got a broken one and fixed it. I I've been working on Honda N600s exclusively for 20 years. I've probably worked on 1,000 or more. 1967 Honda N600s, 50 of them were manufactured serial number 1 through serial number 50. 3 of them have survived. I bought it pretty much sight unseen and owned it for several years before I actually scraped the goop off the VIN number to see that it was the serial number 1 car. This car here is probably the most important thing I'll ever own. I stand in awe when I think about it, how this is the very first one made, restoring it and knowing that at the end of the day it's going to go to the Honda Museum where everybody can go see it and enjoy it. Yeah, that's a pretty special thing. It's kind of humbling that I get to be the guy that does it. The power of dreams. It's emotional, actually, when you think about it. I'm the first person to take it apart since it was put together in 1967.
So that is serial 1. So if you didn't get it, that is the actual serial number of that vehicle is number 1. So it was the first N600 brought into the United States. This video launched in mid-March and kicked off a campaign that will run through the fall of this year, a total of 34 weeks. Within the first 2 weeks of the campaign start, the video had 1.2 million views and an 81% completion rate on YouTube, 81%. To date, we have over 5.5 million video views on Facebook alone and overwhelmingly positive sentiment on all of our platforms, and we've gained tens of thousands of dollars worth of earned media. So why is this campaign working? It's important to note that Honda is not the hero in this content, really, but the supporter of the hero, which fits nicely into our desired brand message, the power of dreams. Honda is always present in the content, but we center around the power of dreams message and have created a story about a man with a passion at living his dream of restoring the first Honda automobile imported in the U.S. And that's Tim Ming. He's a lover of all things Honda. That van that he had out front, I think that's one of the original parts delivery vans that we had back in the 60s when we were delivering parts in the Southland. On social stories like this work because we go from being a business connecting with consumers to people connecting with people, which is what we really try to do. On social stories like this, go away and become people connecting with people. Fans are connecting with this content because it's authentic and it evokes an emotional response. Perhaps most importantly, the content is not overly salesy. So again, let's keep that secret. Tim's story of the restoration is the main story of the campaign. However, we also have a number of sub-stories that surround the history of the N600 vehicle and the history of Honda. Each story fits into a larger story that we'll support over the next several months, like I said. We will continue to post short video, GIFs, and still images that will continue this story of Tim's dream and his passion for the restoration of Honda Serial 1. We've created a story arc that seamlessly Honda integrates with. The story features a beginning, the kickoff video, a middle showing what we're doing as we restore it, and an end, the finished product when it's completely restored and it will be put into the Honda collection. Consumers seek out, watch, and share this content because it's interesting. The consumer isn't left feeling as though they were being forced to buy a new product, but they are left with a more positive brand perception, and through word of mouth and the impact endorsement, hopefully they will share it with their friends and family and get the word about Honda out to other people rather than just our fans. Which leads to really staying true to your brand. That was one of our second items, is be true to yourself. So successful video content is all about authenticity, and you need to be able to tell a story in a way that's really relevant to your brand. And I'll just talk personally here a bit. When I started the company 20 years ago, on my first day they talked about the power of dreams. And I've been fortunate enough now to go visit Japan and see where Mr. Honda and his key business partner, Mr. Honda was an artist, but not always a great businessman. But he had Mr. Fujisawa that he met and came and kind of took over the business part of it, allowing Mr. Honda to dream. And so really, when we talk about dreaming at Honda, it is something that's really rooted in our DNA. So I think that authenticity really comes out in what we produce. And really, no other auto manufacturer can tell the story like we do. This Power of Dreams has been around since our inception. Nobody makes as many products as we do. And it does give us really a leg up to get this storytelling going and being true to our brand. Let's watch another video now about the N600 that I think will be released soon, the next in the series.
1967 Honda N600s were manufactured, and they were brought here to see if it was indeed feasible to sell such a small car in a big country. And as it turns out, one of my dear friends, Bob Hansen, was the guy in charge of these cars. He oversaw them while they were here. Somehow, this one and two other ones still exist. And throughout the years, I somehow wasn't looking for them, but they all kind of funneled down to me. It's pretty interesting. We could geek out on this little car for a long time.
So this video that you just saw and others like it will continue the N600 story over the next 6 months. Each piece of content will allow fans to get to know Tim and kind of that dream that he has and the history of the N600 and what makes the Serial One project so special. It's all authentic. It's factual content about Tim. He is an actual real person that's in the LA area, and everybody knows him as a Honda restorer. This is like we found him because of what he does with Honda. And the content is not overly branded or too salesy, which makes it more shareable. And remember, the point of all of our content is to generate engagement. And we want to do that by evoking an emotional response. We really want to form that emotional connection with consumers with every piece of content that we create. As mentioned earlier, social media is a place where people come to talk to other people, not brands, so our content always leads with, why should I, customer, consumer, really care about this? Last summer, as another project, we had done a survey with families that had children ages 5 to 16. And from the survey that we learned they spend about 208 hours in their car each year, and the parents don't really view it as good quality time. So we recognize this as an opportunity of something that we could do to maybe connect with customers on a more emotional level. So let's take a look at this next video.
We're all busier than ever, and we often wish there were more hours in the day. But if you look around, you'll notice there are some hours we could do a lot more with. Introducing Honda Road Readers, a selection of children's audiobooks that turns car time into story time, and uses great literature to encourage your kids to dream a little bit bigger.
Wake up! Peter Pan has come and he is to teach us to fly. Oh, how lovely to fly.
The best part? It's free to all Honda drivers.
I'll teach you how to jump on the wind's back, and then away we go.
Honda, the power of dreams.
So you'll see in the first 15 seconds of that video, we're really trying to connect, show them why is this important to you. You spend a lot of time in the car, and what can we do to make that better? The Honda Readers program. So free audiobooks to everybody that buys a new Honda vehicle. Actually, anybody that owns a Honda. And again, this is something really authentic. I have been at the company almost 20 years, and I've been a rolling reader for about 17. So once a month on a Friday, I go to a local grade school, and I read to the kids, to second graders for an hour. So it is something that's kind of ingrained. The reading, it really just came organically. This would be a great product for us to offer to Honda owners. And of course, the Odyssey minivan, the Pilot, we're trying to get that family vehicle and give another reason to purchase it ultimately. And free audiobooks is something that people are liking. We also saw this authenticity with the Serial One video kickoff. This content leads with the introduction to Tim, and Why Should I Care builds from there. Even 3 years ago, when we started our Project Drive-In project, if anybody's, and it was going to cost roughly $100,000 for a camera to run the movie, basically. And most drive-ins across America couldn't afford that. So we put out a social project called Project Drive-In, and we got people engaged. We talked about the history of the drive-in. We talked about why it's important that we save them, and we ultimately gave 3 or 4 theaters new camera equipment. So it was something that we were able to identify it. We got local drive-in theaters. Also, this is what's difficult at times is when you're talking about creating emotion, people get confused with emotion and emotional. And so we just want people to have a positive sentiment. We don't necessarily need to leave them crying or laughing hysterically. It's just more that we connect on an individual level. Sometimes as you manage things up, that gets much of a softer side of engaging and getting Honda just as a relevant brand in front of people. The important thing remains that a connection is made within an emotional level in an authentic way, and emotion causes people to pay attention, just like a good news hook. So that's what I'll talk about next year. When we plan for our social campaigns, we evaluate the content plan based on potential earning for buzz. We want people. Most recently, we ran a campaign for Distracted Driving Month. Demonstrating that if you can't do a simple task such as gardening or cooking while you're texting, you certainly can't text and drive. So we have 2 samples of those right now.
All right, sit still. You're gonna look so cute. Oh, it's Daddy. Maybe no one will notice?
So those are fun videos, and what was interesting about that is we took a very, very serious issue that again is very authentic at Honda. Distracted driving is something that we're always trying to solve the equation so you don't have it, and had a little more lighthearted. Last year we did a video about texting and driving that was much more serious, so you can find that on our YouTube channel. But this was fun. We talk about positive and negative sentiment, so we definitely, on the little girl in the haircut, we had some negative sentiment within launching it. Those were hair extensions, it wasn't her hair. But Hairdressers of America weren't really taking kindly to it as far as using them as an example, and we just got some negative sentiment. I think partly because the little girl was so authentic in the way that she looked so sad as her mom cut her hair, which I heard somebody say, yeah, my mom cut my hair. I mean, we had to line up in the garage and, my dad with the clippers. But again, we have a couple more of those, so you can go look at on our YouTube channels and find those if you want to see them. They focused on stories and emotions, benefited from having a unique news angle, which was this lighthearted approach. And after just 2 weeks, many of the videos received more than 1 million views on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And again, it's something that the company is very proud of because it's something that really is near to our heart about stopping distracted driving. So far, we've discussed several reasons why Honda's what we're doing in the social space so far, and it seems to be working. We tell stories, so people communicate through storytelling. We're authentic. If your story isn't authentic to your brand mission, it will fall flat. We evoke emotion, and we find the news hook. Like I've said, our goals for social aren't necessarily our goals for like broadcast media, just like you wouldn't take everything you do on social and put it on network and you wouldn't take all your network and put it right on social. Our social goals are to create relevant and engaging content, so we do have a little more leeway. We can spend a little longer time. We can do a little longer form video, which we have fun with. But a big part of this is not only what you're creating, it's your content strategy and targeting. So directly related to the goals of engagement and sentiment is the strategy behind the placement of the creative. It's important for marketers, all of us, to recognize that just like broadcast commercial, it's not always going to work on social. With every social campaign, we evaluate where the content we're creating will resonate best, and with each platform's native audience. As we planned our content calendar for the year, we've taken into consideration the storyline and how each piece of content will fit into the overall message. We've also taken into consideration what content types play well with each audience. We monitor performance on all pieces of creative, and we optimize as needed. Currently, the Serial 1 plan has a relatively even blend of video, GIF, and still images, but as we move through this campaign and we see maybe videos performing better on one platform versus the other, we will optimize those as we go along, again, trying to get new people to know and love the brand. Okay, well, I'm going to talk about success here before I go into final takeaways. It's important that you find the right content and cadence, again, where you're showing this messaging. It's also important to be flexible with your marketing plans, actively monitor and change accordingly. It's not set it and forget it. It's launch. The right type of content per platform and the cadence of your campaign posts is important for brands to also take advantage of hyper-targeted custom audiences available with the major social platforms. As I've mentioned several times, the goal for all of our social-led initiatives is engagement and brand awareness. Using custom target audiences that are niche allow us to get us in front of audiences otherwise may never consider Honda as an auto or a product for them. So for example, with Serial 1, we not only did auto enthusiasts, we did restoration, we did antiques, we did anybody that kind of is into seeing something that's in its original state and then brought into something that's almost like new. I mean, you watch HGTV, you see people taking these old houses and keeping them with their character, but then making them brand new. So we try to reach out. If we're doing fastest seat in sports or IndyCar racing, we try to go after thrill seekers, beyond race fans. So we're always looking at these custom audiences and trying to hyper-target what we can do. So from a final takeaway standpoint, if I haven't said this enough, we start with a goal, we tell stories, we're really authentic to our brand, and I really think that we do excel at that. We evoke emotions, hopefully all positive. We think strategically, we hyper-target our capabilities, and we always are looking for that newsworthy angle. We're really proud of our success. I'm really, having been working with this team now in a more direct relationship when I was in regional marketing, every sales event we do, we have some kind of social extension that the team would deploy. We're kind of set up where we have a core support team, and since social works on both brands, the individual sales groups or the brands, they work with the social to deploy their message. So social at times is coming up with content, and at times they're deploying content for other groups. So if you watch how Honda does it, you'll see that every sales campaign, which is really, it's time to buy a car right now, we do something really fun to go with it. And I'll give you a little heads up for our summer. We're definitely using music. Music is big at Honda. We know from a millennial standpoint, it's a great way to connect with them. We're at several music festivals throughout the year. We have the Honda Civic Tour. So for summer clearance, which I won't give it all away, we're using popular music to really talk about how people fall in love with their vehicles. It's called Now is the Moment, but for our social, it's going to be called Meow is the Moment, and it will feature some cats in a Honda product meowing their way to stardom. So I hope these minutes that I've spent with you, something you've learned or something that was new to you. I really appreciate the time, and thank you all for coming out today.
Yeah, we have time for questions. We have a microphone out here. If anyone has a question, just raise your hand. I've got one. Can you talk a little bit more about Tim, who's probably going to be going on a book tour soon, I'm guessing?
Right.
But did you, as a company, structure say, let's find someone like this, or did Tim call 1-800-HONDA and say, hey, I've got the story? How does that connect?
You know, I think it was a little more organic than that, that people... So one of our next series that is coming up in that video series are some retirees that have worked with the Honda, with these products actually, and sold them and drove them. So some of them knew Tim because he is quite a character and he's pretty well known in the Honda community. So it wasn't that he called us. I mean, I think we technically did find him through other people, either on our social channels or just at work, that knew this gentleman, that this was his specialty. And really, again, that passion and that dream that he has to continue to do this. And so it really just meshed really well. I have personally not met Tim. Sean has. They've been out to his shop several times filming. I guess he's quite a fun character. I love that he had his cat. I'm a cat person, so I love seeing his cat in the shop with him. So it's been a really fun project, and there's just more fun content to come. Yeah.
One more question about, we have some of the audience as well, about ROI. For anyone in marketing, it's kind of obvious, the brand awareness, emotion, so forth. Inside your company, do they tie it to sales in any way, or are you looking at, do they care about earned media, or do they just, are they looking at measurement of the brand value nationally or globally?
Well, ultimately in the auto industry, it's how your month went. You know, did you sell cars? So yes, we do. We look at ROI. It's social, it's more about engagement. Who are we connecting with? How is the content working? From more of a digital standpoint, we look at action rates. What are people doing after are they building and pricing? Are they locating a dealer? Are they looking at pictures? And then we do look at each one of those actions and what leads to sales. So there are more and more products coming out right now that give you the ability to look at your online traffic and then match it to offline sales. So that's just kind of coming out. JD Power has a product now, Data Logic, so we're using a couple of them. But yeah, that is the key, and it's been the key in the auto industry, especially since digital started. It's proved to me that this is selling cars.
Do we have a question over here? Hi. Wait, hold on, you got a mic coming. It's on the way. Here you go.
Oh, and if you could please stand and mention your name and company, that's to everyone throughout the day. Thanks.
I'm Anna with BB Clark and Myler. We're an agency. So you mentioned that you tweak campaigns based, it's not always the same thing, social and broadcast, which we completely agree with. Do you also tweak the social campaigns for different target audiences, different demographics?
I wouldn't say too heavily. I mean, we try to do something, like the distracted driving, that's going to hit, more and more people, but we might do something on music that would definitely be targeted towards millennials. So that content that we create might have more of an edge to it versus something that might be a little more traditional. So I think we do, but we don't do like one piece of content and then say this will feature a millennial and then we'll have a boomer in this one. I think it's a little more looking at it from a strategy from the beginning as who are we really trying to talk to with this campaign. Yes.
Thanks. Paul Hindle from Starcom MediaVest. So I'd just be interested, have you seen, ROI? Yes, I mean, obviously, and all the metrics you're looking at, but from the dealer perspective, have you seen new people coming into the dealers, a sort of younger audience, just actually at the coalface? Has this actually, I mean, the entirety, not just this campaign, but your entire efforts?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely...
What's been seen there?
Yes, the answer I would say is yes to that. We're on a third year. We're on pace to set a record for our third consecutive year. Our median age is dropping. We definitely have hot product in the Civic right now. So I'd say yes. To turn around and say it's because of just social media or it's because of digital, I think it's our mix and everything that we're doing. And we, MediaVest is our media company. So they're always looking for ways to engage people more. And talking with Sean, we went out with Serial One, I'll use an example, and we did get a lot of engagement from people that were kind of new. And we've been watching and following them, and they're staying with us. So I think we are succeeding in getting some new fans to come in and know about the brand, and then we're keeping them engaged with this project.
Hi, I'm Kate from BB Clark and Myler, and I just wanted to ask, which social platforms do you promote your videos on, and which one gave you the best results?
I think a majority, we have YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is where we do a majority. I think right now Facebook is just really performing well, I think, for everybody. I was just up at a Facebook conference. I was up at a Google conference, and it's like Facebook, they've talked about how it was dying 3 years ago and nobody's, kids aren't coming on it, but it just seems to keep growing. So, we like them all, and we're always optimizing and look at what's performing, but I'd say right now Facebook is kind of our go-to, especially with their video and their autoplay. That seems to be really working for us. And it's funny, at the Google conference, they showed the evolution of search results. And they showed it from the beginning when they started till now, and you don't even realize you use it so much that at the beginning it was just a bunch of hyperlinks. They just gave you these served up links. And now it's become so intuitive that you kind of see how quickly it's changed. And just like I was talking to somebody, I said, do you realize now on Facebook the videos just play automatically? Well, didn't they always do that? And no, it's relatively new. So it's just become such a part of your life, you kind of lose sight of how it's changing. And that's what the beauty of having a social team, that this is what they're out in front of that. They're trying to see really what's next. So we've done some Periscope. We did some live on that. We did Facebook Live at the Barber race, and we had an influencer. So I'd say from Facebook, again, that Facebook Live really performed well for us. And it was easy to use, and it was easy to get out there. I mean, Sean, at the New York Auto Show, when we did the Demi Lovato and Nick Jonas, when we introduced that they were the Civic Tour band, Sean was there and Melly, and they're in the back, they're the social team. And I said, well, let me go see where you guys are hanging out. So we go into the back, and they're in this like black curtained area that you kind of get in, and they have all the phones set up. And he goes, well, we have 63,000 people, waiting to see this reveal. I'm like, wow, you guys, you need to step it up. We need to get you like at least something like that you're not like in a tunnel, basically. So I think some of it is still got that guerrilla type to it. So it is, but we did that on Facebook, Twitter. So we've had a lot of success with all of them, But we're always monitoring it. So if something's not performing, it's not going to be around for too long.
Bernie, thank you very much.
Well,
Great
thank you all.
kickoff.
Thank you.
If our panel could come up, that would be great.
I'm going to go.
Explore how marketers map their goals against socially driven video platforms. Leading the discussion is Ryan Hurley, Director of Performance Marketing at the Archer Group. Take it away.
All right, thanks. So yeah, there's a lot of platforms out there, and I think I want to start out real quickly, have you folks introduce yourselves, and when you do that, just let me know as a consumer, or let everyone know, as a consumer, what is your favorite platform for social video?
My name is Craig Alimelia. I lead creative technology in North America for VML. My favorite platform for video, probably Snapchat right now.
Hi, I'm Trevor O'Brien. I'm a Chief Technology Officer at Deutsch, or Chief Nerd, as often introduced. I'm glad Craig just said Snapchat, because I just asked him if he could teach me how to use it. So we're going to do that afterwards.
I'm Rachel Pasqua. I lead the Connected Life practice at MEC Global. We're part of WPP's Group M. All right, sorry to be a pain, but how are we defining social video?
A platform where you can consume
and
video
share?
On some kind of social network. YouTube, that counts,
still
yeah.
YouTube.
All right, still YouTube. So, and I asked that because I think we're all on multiple platforms right now. So, I mean, it's almost 11 now. So, if you could raise your hand if you've been on one social network, at least one today. How about 2, 3, 4, 5? This is turning into a weird meeting. So I kind of want to start also with the fact that, so earlier this week, Microsoft announced that they didn't really announce, there's a rumor that they're going to be putting out Huddle, which is a new social video network. And it's probably going to be more enterprise than anything else, but it kind of begs the question, for me at least, do we need another platform?
Do we need another platform? People just can't seem to get enough. I don't know if the question is, do we need another platform? I think that it's, if people are going to go there, then why not? It's like saying, do we need another cable channel? I think the more places to publish is ideal for us because we make more money doing it. But I think that it really depends on the value that it brings. I mean, if it brings something different, if it gives us more variety of data, not volume of data, then I think it could be useful.
Trevor or Rachel? Sure.
No, go ahead.
Duke it out.
I guess what he's like, same sentiment. I don't think you need something new until you see it and you experience it. We didn't know we needed Pinterest until Pinterest came along. We didn't know we needed Instagram. I mean, it's like that old, what was the Henry Ford adage? Like if you asked people what they wanted, he would have just built a faster horse.
Yeah.
You won't know until you experience it. And if it does something new and different and solves some need that nothing else is solved for, then sure, why not?
I think the interesting thing potentially about the Microsoft thing is if you think about most social networks, they're focused on kind of consumers and personal ways of communicating. LinkedIn is probably the most successful kind of social network for business and professional. So if Microsoft builds a platform that's kind of focused on video delivery for businesses, that feels like a potential new space.
Yeah, like an untapped niche. Yeah. No, that's
Although
great.
I wonder about that one. I have to admit, I hadn't seen that particular piece of news yet, but it's video platform for, it's a portal for businesses to share with
Whereas in the past, it was just like these big productions that, required just way too many people and way too much time to produce. So to me, I find it liberating to be able to just kind of say, like, let's just go do this over a weekend, or let's just go do this in a day. Or in most agencies today, you see someone in the corner with a table and like things set up, right? Like doing kind of Vine videos and stuff like you just didn't see that in the past. So I personally think it's great.
Great, yeah.
I think for clients specifically, like people who are much smarter than me create good digital strategies about like why you use certain networks and how that plays a part in your overall marketing kind of plan. But there are implications in terms of like how you pay for all of that video, what the production value is. Clients say, well, why should I be on Snapchat? What's it gonna do for my business? What's it gonna do for my audience? So I think there are implications that agencies are figuring out in terms of all of these different channels, what role they play, what kind of messages you put there, and then also, where do the funds come from to create content for this plethora of networks?
Yeah. Well, it's learned behavior too, I think, and unlearning ways that we've always done things, because it's very human nature to try and retrofit something new into a framework you already understand, which is why the first websites, if anyone remembers, the first websites in the 90s looked like print brochures or press kits. And it took a long time to understand that it was a completely different animal, and it didn't need to have a menu over here and the logo over there, and that you could do whatever you want. So I think we're at the beginning of that phase of understanding, well, we can do anything, and getting over that is the first hump.
Yeah.
And then actually making it part of the process is the next. And I think it's very hard, where agencies are very process-driven, and it's very hard to create a process around something that's constantly changing. New platforms every day. It's still much easier to just shoot for TV and cut down for all the other video platforms. Well, we know it's not efficient at the end of the day when it actually gets to the end user. But that's the dilemma. It's very difficult.
Yeah, one more point on that. This was something Trevor and I were talking about earlier, which is, having more networks that have similar types of content, but still different, I think gives us the ability as marketers, as agencies, to sort of kind of break out of sort of the muscle memory type of situation that you get into, where it's like, we're going to shoot for TV, whereas, over the course of the year, you're doing a lot of the same thing or similar types of things, in little chunks over, and you're learning from them, right? So what are people engaging with? So I can now go out and make a short little thing.
Yeah, so that actually leads to a really important point is, it's all video, but it's all different, right? So if it's all different, and you have Vine is 6 seconds, Instagram now is a minute, right? And everyone there's different audiences on each platform. Are there different goals that we have for different platforms? Like what you can achieve in Snapchat, do you hold that to a different standard than what we can achieve on?
The ultimate goal really is to unlock the cultural value, in my opinion. I think being able to produce something relatively inexpensively, publish it to a network that is the arbiter of culture, and where culture is like the petri dish of culture, and then figuring out, is this working? Can I unlock something? Is there an insight I can take away from this? And if it doesn't work, you just move on to the next thing. Yeah. But it's all of those sort of learnings that ultimately build up into the eventual big idea, or the sort of the aha moment of like, this is where we should be, and kind of our tone and our approach in terms of.
And I think on that topic, and Trevor or Rachel, I didn't mean to cut you off if you had anything to add to that. In digital we measure everything, right? So it's all like ones and zeros, and how many views did you get? But it sounds like a lot of video, it's changing that, right? Is we're not looking at digital video in the same way of, was the ad seen or not? It's what did it do, right? So I don't know if anyone has examples or thoughts on like, what does that look like? How do you measure the impact of video outside of a view? Because that's really myopic and, the beginner way to look at it, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of people, whenever we launch something on YouTube, the amount of people that just sit there and hit refresh to see the play counter go up. It's just like, it's gone up 1, it's gone up 10, like that. That's one way to look at it, but we always talk about the best way to connect consumers with your brand is either to create something that's entertaining or create something that's useful.
Yeah.
And if you can do both, then that's great. But a lot of the metrics that we look at, so you've got all the normal things that you would look at in digital, but one thing that is super important, their personal brand on something, and say, like, I think my friends would like to watch this, that's hugely valuable, because that's, most people, if you think about it, don't share TV spots or print ads, or, you know, rarely do they share websites unless they're design geeks. But I think the share value is huge.
Yeah, bigger so than even just like an organic reach of people seeing it. It means more for someone to share it than for someone to see it.
I think there's nothing more valuable than someone sharing it. It's a free ad for you. But there's also, you know, there's interactive video now. We're exploring interactive video for a number of our CPG clients. So it's, did they stop and look at a product? Did they, you know, mouse over to see more? Did they examine something in a 360-degree view? Now there's shoppable true view. Did they actually buy something? There's so many different, you know, iterations and flavors now of KPIs that you can get from video, other than time spent and completed views.
You see, I love that, because I think for years, when you think about video, it's always been that like one frame lock where you're just watching a static video spot. We just did like an AI-driven experience for Volkswagen called Golf R, where you could actually, maybe you've seen, but you can actually kind of experience driving the car through your voice, through the sounds that you make. So like AI-driven videos come in, 360 video, VR. We were just talking about phones. In 18 months, every phone that you buy will have VR capabilities built into it. So I think it's like, that's going to help us create video that actually is more shareable, because of the experience too.
Oh, and that made me think, your VW example made me think of also, there's sort of a choose your own adventure video formats now. I haven't seen any out there in the wild, but it made me think of was it the Golf, you said?
The Golf R.
Yeah, the Golf. So imagine like choosing whether or not you want to do a 360-degree video drive of the Golf along the Pacific Coast Highway, or maybe you want to drive the Nuremberg Ring. I mean, those are the types of experiences we'll be able to create, and which will tell you so much more about engagement and about the user themselves.
And on that, so I mean, there's probably a lot of, you know, agency folk or brand folk here, and, you know, while we said that video views are, you know, maybe not as important as some of these other things, it's really hard to measure, you know, that cultural value. I was curious if, you know, you all had any like advice on like how to change minds and hearts.
I'm not good with numbers.
Well, I guess, yeah, well, that's the thing is, you know, so there's a lot of brands and agencies that might default to measurability over the creativity and innovation that video provides. Is there any advice, because, you know, you folks are pretty creative, you know, how do you change it? How do you influence to take on that type of VR experience as opposed to counting video views?
So just quickly, I mean, I think, you know, obviously share is one measure. When we get to more interactive video, then interaction is actually trackable. So that's hugely interesting too. Right. But, you know, I was with Google the other day, and they talked about, so we have this term that we use, it's about placing small bets in the digital world. We don't know what's going to work, right? So we try and encourage clients to not bet the house on one thing and just place a network of small bets, see what works, and then that becomes your thing. So Google cited 2 examples the other day of 2 major brands that actually their Super Bowl video spots came from lower production digital spots that they did that just were wildly successful in terms of engagement, shareability. So that's an interesting model, right? Like, should brands be, you know, creating video online and then actually taking that, and that becomes your above the line campaign?
And, you know, to add on that, I think you need to break out of the numbers a little bit. I think that numbers, up until now, things have been very linear, right? And measurement has been very linear.
Absolutely.
And I think, you know, we've been experimenting with image recognition, video recognition, things like that. And, you know, I think, to me, people are making videos at a clip never before seen in history. I mean, people just are making videos. So, you know, in my mind, you look at something like a Snapchat filter and people making a video using your Snapchat filter, right? So how are people interacting with a brand within the context of their own life, and then creating cool content around that? And then, can you measure that? How do you know that exists? How do you know that's out there? So, you know, being able to find ways to sort of get people to kind of connect their creations with within the conversation that's going on around the brand and around what's going on, culturally, and then using more non-traditional methods like image recognition, video recognition, tagging, that type of stuff, to be able to track that in ways that you just don't really see traditional tracking.
And Snapchat's a good one because they don't have a very big metric suite like a lot of others, so you have to go on almost a gut feel and things like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So something else that came out recently, so Vine is still a network, and there was a statistic like this week, someone did an analysis, I think Digiday did it, where half of like the biggest influencers or Vine have kind of vacated the premises, and I imagine have kind of moved maybe over towards a Snapchat or some other vehicles. And the question that brought to me is, that's fully based off the 6-second video. Instagram just increased from 15 to a minute for their video.
For paid.
For paid, yeah. So does that change what marketers should be doing? Did 6 seconds fail as a short-term thing, or is there some new normal that we need to work towards?
Personally, I don't think it has anything to do with the length of the video. I think it has more to do with the relationship that Vine cultivated with its users and the monetization opportunities they offered them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think if you look at the dynamic of the network, you put them side by side, and you look at Vine, you look at Snapchat. Snapchat feels like a publisher. I mean, they've done a really, really good job at kind of legitimizing themselves as, putting your story next to Cosmo, next to, US, next to People, and I think that, the influencers out there that are opportunistic, they're going to gravitate to the platform that shines the best light on them, and they're talented and they understand how to work these networks.
Legitimizes them.
It legitimizes them, yeah. Totally.
Trevor?
Yeah, and that's, so I'm a huge Medium user, and Medium's the same model, right? So like I write an article in Medium.
Yep.
And I could be kind of recommended along with a New York Times author, right? And I think something has happened over the last 3 or 4 years with technology and these platforms. It's made content publishers and creators out. It's democratized it.
Yes.
Anybody can, like, if you look at the most successful people on YouTube with some of the biggest followings, they're 12 years old. So like, how do you compete with that?
It's a little difficult.
Yeah.
I was watching something this morning, and I was like, that kid is not out of high school yet.
Right.
But that's really funny. And we were talking before this about Facebook Live. Because there's VR, and then there's 360, and there's augmented reality to a degree. But probably the more immediate thing that brands can address is how to leverage Facebook Live. Is anyone using it currently as a marketer? Has anyone experienced it? Is it okay? Is it worth talking about? Yeah. So it's different, but it's still kind of the same feel of a lot of video. And how should brands? What should they be mapping to Facebook Live that they didn't have something to map to before? Does it solve an unmet need?
I think it definitely solves an unmet need. I think that just the fact that it's live, this creates an urgency around it. I think social has created the need for people to want more live events to be social about. Right?
Yeah.
So we had the Super Bowl that came once a year, and we had like the Grammys or whatever, the Oscars that came once a year, and everyone kind of bubbled up and started talking, and we want to be social. So I think that Facebook really tapped into something interesting in terms of how do we create these moments that are live and get people to want to be a part of them and want to make sure that they catch it. And then be able to be inherently social while it's unfolding and while it's happening. So I don't think it's any different in terms of, it needs to be compelling, and the production value should be good, it should be interesting, it should be, all those things. But I think that bringing live video to a network like Facebook, where people are so ravenously consuming themselves and things around them, that is brilliant. In my opinion, I will probably use it a lot.
Yeah.
There's an interesting article that I read yesterday, which I think it was titled "Welcome to the Era of Silent Movies." So I'm going to be like Donald Trump, so don't like fact check me or anything. 'Cause all my stats are going to be wrong, so never use them. But it's like something like 95% of all video watched on. Did I get that wrong?
It's 85. But I know, but it's really high because I saw the
said
same
don't
thing.
fact check
It's
me,
amazing.
man.
Sorry,
but
numbers guy
is all watched without audio.
Yeah.
So again, that's a huge creative opportunity that like we're not tapping into right now. And also, it just makes you think like, if that's true, all of these videos that we're putting out onto Facebook with audio, are people actually getting the message? Are they connecting with what we're trying to do?
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting too when you think about how to tell a really compelling story in video with no audio.
Charlie Chaplin.
Well, that was that was yeah.
And I did want to talk about that too. Is that, so I'm glad you brought it up. Does that change? It doesn't change how we map to goals as marketers, right? But it changes the creative experience and the creative design jobs. And is that anything that is it taxing? Is it difficult to map to? And Facebook has made it a little bit easier. They're doing some closed captioning, right?
Yep.
And and everything auto plays, so we kind of had a heads up start that we need to get the message across early. But how are brands doing it differently? How should they be doing things differently?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a creative challenge, right? We were talking about kind of VR and 360 video before we got up here, and it's, so we're all like, it's become the new viral video. Like, can you do me a viral video? It's now, can you do me a 360 video?
Yeah.
And what we're experiencing is like, there's different talent needed to create a really good 360 experience in video, because you're telling stories from multiple dimensions. So when you think about how you write like a script, traditionally, it's very linear. And we're starting to look now like, are the right kinds of people to create the best sort of stories around 360 and those immersive experiences that put you, the user, at the center? Do they come from the gaming world?
Right,
like,
yeah.
Right, so story around it that's 360.
And they're not the same folks that have been sitting at the agency desk for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think from a skill set perspective, the past 10 years, that's what it's been all about. I think people have been, there's been a tremendous stress on creative departments to, up the game and diversify the game. I recently called a meeting with the creative department saying, how many copywriters in this room, if I gave you a brief tomorrow, can write me a script for an AI bot? And everyone was just like, what's an AI bot? So I think that, to Trevor's point, it is, I think we are going to see sort of a new wave of desirability for different types of talent. Yes, from the video game world, from the production world, and I think that the people who are really successful on these platforms and that get it, are intuitive. These 12-year-old kids that you're talking about, hire them. Seriously, they get it. They understand intuitively how to put themselves in the middle of a 360-degree world and tell a story seamlessly. I mean, they just get it.
Anything on that, Rachel? Because I did have another question I wanted to ask you in particular on. So we're talking about just video challenges agencies in ways that, from a digital way, we haven't dealt with probably for a little while. It's been very linear. It's been very static to a degree. Does that mean that should agencies and brands be looking to do more third-party partnerships or bringing in more companies to help figure out what they should be doing, or do you think it's like an internal play? Like how does an agency fold in extra help on that type of thing?
I think, as media agencies are all about partnerships.
Yeah.
It's the power of partnership, that's all it is. But the strategy for the agency internally, you can't outsource. You have to own the strategy for selecting those partners based on the strategic goals that you've created, and for working with them, they can augment your strategy, they can add new elements to it, they can help you shape it, but if you start outsourcing strategy, you're finished. Yeah. But strategy, it's semantics. People call it different things.
Yeah, well, I look at, you look at VR, and like not every agency is going to be able to do that in-house. right? Or
Well,
you look at
but do what? Like when you say do, what do you mean do? Like we can plan the strategy for any of our clients for VR. What it
Strategy,
should
yes.
be, what goals should it achieve, how should it be measured, what should it look like, what data should we apply to
Mm-hmm.
it, and what KPIs should we pull out of it. Actually creating the VR content, I mean, could do that, but in a lot of cases you have to determine, like theoretically, I mean, we're WPP, we could do pretty much anything we want. It depends on expediency. How fast could we do it? How cost effectively could we do it? Is there some third party who could take our strategy and our framework and our blueprint and do it better? For us at MEC, our goal is to be the data-driven strategic architects for the customer experience in an increasingly data-driven world, and creating that blueprint for the experiences, that's what matters. Then you can find anyone who's a specialist to fill in any number of dots for you, or you can fill in the dots yourself.
Yeah, it's always been like that.
Right.
Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed at all. And you look at what's going on out there, and you see, folks like Tool or Media Monks and all like the amazing shops out there that, their job is to kind of stay ahead of the game and to be able to provide those services to us, the agencies, and be able to kind of realize those strategic briefs, realize, like we wrangle the client, we handle, all the sort of the meetings and the briefs and whatnot. And those guys they're the production partners. They're the best at what they do. And, to build VR capabilities in-house is just kind of silly, because then what else are you doing? Like,
Right, yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
The other thing that with all these different platforms, we talked about what's your favorite thing as a consumer, which platform you're on or whatever. But looking forward, fast forward in 12 months, what has gained the most traction with brands of kind of these new things that we're looking at? You have live, you have augmented reality, you have VR, you have 360. Is it some composite of all of them? Does it live in one particular channel as to others? Where do brands succeed with these new types of video?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're talking about video, so I think it would be AI personally. But
Okay.
since we're talking about video, so the barrier, who here has actually experienced VR content either on like cardboard or headsets? So it's pretty amazing, right? Like the experience it just changes how you view content and changes how you feel about it. It's much more emotional. I think it's the same as every new technology that explodes onto the scene, especially when it's in consumers' hands. We're not all going to be walking around with these big headsets, walking up and down Fifth Avenue. So it's when the technology makes it into that device that you're holding.
Right.
If that happens in the next 12 to 18 months, something like virtual reality video, 360 video, it's going to change how you watch not just brand videos, but HBO and and it's going to be in your pocket all day long. So I think it's that barrier to get it to be mass and on a device that you have in your pocket. And as soon as they figure that out, then I think that will be the one that takes off.
Rachel?
I got so lost in his question.
Sorry.
What's the?
I'm
we're talking
sorry.
specifically. No, it was interesting. That's why. We're talking specifically about video. What elements of video are the most?
Yeah, specifically, video, social video.
I think for a lot of our clients, it's going to be the shoppable True View.
Okay.
I think that the two things I'm most keenly interested in are going to be the big, sort of the vanguard of media will be shoppable media in all its forms. So, like the Instagram and the Facebook ads and Pinterest ads with the buy now buttons and that sort of immediacy, sort of encapsulating that full shopping experience or conversion, whatever you want to call it, within the media experience, within the publisher or the platform. So the shoppable video on YouTube, I think, spot on. And then non-video, but I think chatbots, conversational commerce, and CRM is going to be massive.
Shoppable video is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
When you can literally see something in a video and just press.
Yeah, and then one click it because Google already has your checkout information.
Yeah, it's amazing. It is.
Yeah, I think at what is going on in the messaging world and Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp and Snapchat and whatnot, I think that the conversion of bots, AI, that type of stuff, and video together, I think that it's becoming more normalized, more human. The interaction is becoming more human, and to me, I think that's where things are very, very quickly headed in terms of the way you consume. You consume based on your context. You consume based on your need. You consume based on your conversation with some robot that doesn't even exist. But I think that I just downloaded this Google keyboard and I'm typing stuff, and all of a sudden, like, video recommendations and GIFs and emojis are coming up, and just like it made sense, and it's so good, and it's so spot on, and just like sharing more video because I'm getting the opportunity to do it, mid-conversation. So I think that the more natural, I think video is going to evolve to become, sort of like an emoji, and kind of find its place within more natural conversational interaction on digital.
Go ahead.
Well, I just building on that, I think, so Google and other search engines, but we might as well just talk about Google. So they're starting to do, like really good image recognition, so they can do semantic analysis, so that video is searchable, like the actual content of the video, each frame will be in your search results. And if you think about, like, we all consume more video now on our mobile devices than any other device. Again, don't fact check me.
I won't this time.
Yeah, please don't. But so I think that's where things like the 6-second video and the 30-second video, and I don't know why Instagram is a minute. I feel like it's a minute because it's better than 30 seconds. It's like, you do 30 seconds on this platform, we'll give you a minute. So I don't know if there's actually anything behind that that actually means anything, but just being able to create snackable, bite-sized piece of content that people can like really quickly engage with and then get out. I think and once that's integrated into something like Google Search, it's only going to fuel video consumption on mobile.
And I guess to that point, not letting a platform decide how snackable it needs to be. It doesn't have to be 3 or 4. You have
who knows
some time. Yeah.
Yeah. Like who said 6 seconds was going to be cool, and then 1 minute, or even the 30-second TV spot. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah. No, exactly. So I think we have some time for some questions. I don't know where to start. If anyone has questions.
I've got a quick one.
Yeah.
Can you talk? You're all dealing with mega clients, I know. What are? I mean, I hope they're past. Please make me a viral video thing. Can you talk about some of the just anecdotally, some of the leaders and then the laggards that you're getting for reactions or driving it? In terms of looking for social video, for platforms, are there people who are pushing you? Are you pushing them? Where's the push-pull there?
I can tell you from our side, I think we're definitely driving. We're definitely driving. I think that our clients are. It's dizzying. It's dizzying to understand the mechanics of every single platform out there, and to understand where to put the money and whatnot. And I think we've come up with a really good sort of relationship model with our clients in terms of being fairly honest about wanting to do cool stuff on different platforms, and kind of dip our toes in those waters and understand from a budgetary standpoint, if we all know whatever's 100 grand and over requires, all kinds of executive and too many people get involved. And we look for those opportunities where we kind of put a little bit of money aside and say, hey, why don't we dip our toe into Snapchat, or why don't we dip our toe into Instagram? Why don't we do this? But I think for the most part, we're driving it from a cultural perspective and saying, this makes sense. And I think that's expected by the clients from the agencies, to be able to bring forth those recommendations and say, yeah, we can do this, and this makes sense, and this is why.
Yeah, I think it's the same for us. That obviously we have some clients who are very progressive, but for the most part, it is us leading. And I find myself constantly saying not directly to the clients, but to our account teams, if we wait until there are more success metrics on this, it will be too late. If you wait until there's lots of data about whether or not it's effective, then everybody else will be doing it, and you'll be the last one, and there won't be any point anymore. So,
I think there are two things that I've learned. Is one, the creative idea is still the most important thing. You know, so just putting a video out on YouTube or whatever the platform might be, particularly if it's like a nascent platform that you really can't like deliver metrics behind. But if it's wrapped up into a bigger idea or creative idea, where there's a program built around it, I think we've found a lot of success in being able to kind of use interesting platforms in that way. And then secondly, just to Rachel's point on strategy, if as an agency you have really all of these platforms are woven in different ways, you know. So when we start at the start of the year with a client and we sit down and we say, what are your priorities, where do you want to be, then we come back with a kind of a strategic approach for the year that says, like, here's a platform, here's what it does, here's the audience, here's the target, here's why you should do experiences around this one. So I think it is coming from us, but it's also, it can't just be, very rarely I find, can it just be, Snapchat's cool, we should do something there.
Right.
Any questions?
Hi, Jason Rajowitz, 214. So the live video is really interesting to me because you look at things like Instagram where everything's filtered and everything looks beautiful and people really love it because everything looks better than it really is. And then you get into the live video and it's very raw, it's shaky, and it seems like, does that turn people off? Do you think that people might engage less and might click out quicker because it's not as pretty and it is raw and it is in the moment more?
Depends who's shooting it. I mean, you know, you look at someone like Gary Vee, right? He's all over that, and he's, you know, doesn't care. Like he's into the fact that it's raw, and he's sitting on the toilet shooting, you know, live video and giving you advice on your career. But then, you know, there's plenty of people out there doing it, you know, really well polished stuff, and they understand. You know, look at someone like Bill Simmons and his new network. He does live video really well. But I think, you know, you want to balance it like anything else. You want to retain a certain authenticity. You want to retain a certain, you know, connection with who's watching it. I think if you just stick a, you know, you shoot a live commercial, you know, which is cool, kind of a cool idea. You shoot a live commercial on there, and, you know, I think people will see it for what it is. So I don't know that it turns people. I think the audience will self-select, and they'll decide what they like and what they don't like, and we'll see that on our end.
And there's also, so the authenticity piece, but there's also an expectation, I think, that people online are okay with watching things that are not perfect. You know, they're used to it, like their friends are creating all this content. So I feel like production values is something we talk about a lot, but I'm not sure that people who go and find this content on these different platforms say this doesn't feel like a produced TV spot, I don't want to watch it or engage with it. So I think the audience that we're talking to, they've kind of often grown up with shooting stuff on their phones and their friends' phones, and they're just kind of used to it. And again, if you don't try and spend $1 million or whatever it is to make a TV spot, you can do 1,000 pieces of really good content online and learn a ton of stuff that you wouldn't learn if you just did one, you know, high-end video spot.
Are we at time? We're at time. So thank you to our panelists, and thanks for everyone here.
Thank you, everyone.
Ryan, great job. Thank you. We're now going to take a short coffee break, which is just out the door. Take a